No calculation. Just tired honesty. "I need this job," she'd said simply. "My brother is sick. I'll work harder than anyone you've ever hired." He'd hired her on the spot. Now he watched her slide across his hardwood floor in her sock feet, lost in her private world. She picked up one of his first edition books, examined it with genuine curiosity, then carefully replaced it. She touched his desk, his chair, the painting on the wall, not with the reverence of an employee, but with appreciation. Like she belonged there. Something dark and possessive twisted in his chest. For 15 years, J1 had controlled everything in his empire. Every person, every transaction, every breath his enemies took. Control was survival. Control was power. But this woman didn't even know he was watching. She was completely, beautifully unguarded. He wanted that. Wanted to own it, keep it, possess it until she only danced for him. His phone buzzed. Minho's name flashed across the screen. "The park situation is handled," J1 said without greeting. "Body?" "In the river." Minho's voice was flat, professional. "Boss, are you still at the penthouse? I need to brief you on." "Come up. Now. And bring the maid to my office." Silence. Then, carefully, "Sua." "Why?" "Because I told you to." He ended the call and watched the monitor. Sua had stopped dancing. She was cleaning in earnest now, moving methodically through the room. He could see the exhaustion in her movements. She paused, pressing her hand to her lower back, then returned to work. 3 jobs. A sick brother. Desperation that ran bone deep. He could work with that. Sua's hands were trembling as she followed Minho down the hallway. She'd been working here for exactly 4 days. 4 peaceful, well-paying days where she'd cleaned a penthouse so beautiful it made her want to cry, and nobody had bothered her. The owner was never home. It was perfect. Too perfect. She should have known. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked Minho's broad back. "I can fix it. Whatever it is, I can. Just walk." Minho's tone wasn't cruel, but it wasn't kind either. He was built like a wall, 6'2", muscles that strained his suit, a scar cutting through his left eyebrow. Sua had seen men like him before. Enforcers. The kind who solved problems with violence. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Ji-hoon needs his medication. Ji-hoon needs his medication. She repeated it like a mantra. Whatever happened in the next 5 minutes, she needed this job. Her brother's treatment cost more than she made in a year at her other jobs combined. This position paid triple the normal rate. She'd known it was suspicious. She'd taken it anyway. Minho stopped at a double door, knocked once, then pushed it open. "Boss. Leave us." The voice that came from inside was smooth, cultured, and absolutely terrifying in its calm. Minho stepped aside. Sua forced her feet to move. The office was enormous, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline, dark wood furniture, leather and books and money. And behind a massive desk sat Jae-won Kim. She'd only met him once, during her interview. He'd seemed normal then. Handsome, yes, sharp features, intense eyes, black hair styled perfectly. Rich, obviously. But normal. Now, in the low light of his office, with those dark eyes fixed on her like a predator spotting prey, he was something else entirely. "Sit." Sua sat in the chair across from him. She gripped her hands in her lap to stop them shaking. Jae-won didn't speak for a long moment. He just watched her, his expression unreadable. There was something on his knuckles, dark spots he'd missed while cleaning. Blood, maybe. Her stomach turned. "You dance," he said finally. Heat flooded her cheeks. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. I didn't say stop. He leaned forward, elbows on his desk. How long have you been dancing? Since I was a child. But I haven't. I mean, I don't perform anymore. I needed to work. You're good. Thank you. You're also desperate. The words hit like a slap. Sua lifted her chin. Yes. Your brother. Ji-hoon. Age 19, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, Seoul National University Hospital. Ice slid down her spine. How do you? I know everything about everyone who works for me. Jae-won's voice remained perfectly level. You're working yourself to death trying to pay for his treatment. You sleep 4 hours a night. You haven't eaten a real meal in 3 days. Sua couldn't breathe. This man had investigated her. Really investigated her. What else did he know? What else had he found? I have a proposition, Jae-won continued. I need a companion for social events. Business dinners, galas, meetings where appearance matters. You'll live here, in your own suite. You'll accompany me when required. And I'll pay for your brother's treatment. All of it. The best doctors, the best care. The room spun. That's at least 50 million won. Closer to 70, with the experimental treatment he needs. Jae-won's eyes never left hers. Money I have. What I need is someone real. Someone who doesn't play games. You'll smile, you'll look beautiful, you'll make me appear human. In exchange, your brother lives. It sounded too good. Way too good. What's the catch? Sua whispered. Something flickered in Jae-won's expression. Approval, maybe. You'll be mine. Exclusively. No other jobs, no other obligations. When I call, you come. When I need you, you're there. You live in my world, by my rules. That sounds like. It's not. His voice sharpened. I'm offering you a business arrangement. Your companionship for your brother's life. Nothing more happens unless you want it to. Sua's mind raced. This was insane. She didn't even know what this man really did. Business, he said, but men who came home with blood on their hands didn't do legitimate business. But Ji-hoon was dying. The doctors had given him 6 months without the new treatment. 6 months, and she was already drowning in debt from the standard care. I need to think about it, she managed. You have 24 hours. Jae-won stood, buttoning his suit jacket. Min-ho will drive you home. If you agree, pack your things tomorrow. If not, we'll consider this conversation confidential, and you may continue working as my maid. He moved around the desk, stopping so close she could smell his cologne, expensive, dark, intoxicating. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I watched you dance tonight. You were free. When was the last time you felt that way? Sua couldn't answer. She couldn't even look at him. Think about it, Jae-won said. Real freedom. For both of you. Min-ho was silent during the drive to her apartment. Sua stared out the window, her mind churning. 70 million won. Ji-hoon could live. Really live, not just survive. But at what cost? When they pulled up to her building, Min-ho finally spoke. He's not a good man. Sua looked at him sharply. But he keeps his word, Min-ho continued, his eyes on the steering wheel. If he says he'll pay for your brother's treatment, he will. If he says nothing happens unless you want it to, nothing will. That much I can promise. What does he really do? Your boss? Min-ho's jaw tightened. Things you don't want to know about. Things that keep people like you safe at night, even if you don't realize it. She got out of the car, her legs unsteady. As she walked toward her building, Minho's phone rang. She heard him answer, "Yes, boss." She didn't hear the rest. But she saw Minho's expression change through the car window. His eyes going hard, his body tensing. He got out of the car. "Miss Min." She turned. "Change of plans. We need to go back. Now." "What? Why?" Minho's hand moved to his jacket, where she suspected he kept a gun. "Someone's been asking questions about you. At your other job. At the hospital. Russians." The word hung in the cold night air like a threat. "Get in the car," Minho said, his voice deadly serious. "You're not safe here anymore." If you're enjoying this story and want to hear what happens next, go ahead and subscribe. We have so many more stories coming your way. Thanks for being here. Suah didn't sleep that night. She sat in Jaewon's penthouse guest room, where Minho had insisted she stay until morning, with her laptop open, searching. The blue light painted her face as the truth unfolded in forum posts, news articles, and carefully worded obituaries. Jaewon Kim. Age 34. CEO of Kim Holdings. The official story was boring. Real estate development, import-export businesses, a charitable foundation. A self-made billionaire who'd built an empire from nothing. But the unofficial story. The Ice King of Gangnam, they called him. Whispers of a criminal network that controlled half of Seoul's underground. Protection rackets disguised as security services. Money laundering through legitimate businesses. Competitors who challenged him disappeared. Witnesses who testified against his associates recanted or vanished. One forum post made her blood run cold. "If Kim wants you dead, you're already a ghost. You just don't know it yet." She slammed the laptop shut, her hands shaking. What had she almost agreed to? Her phone buzzed. Dr. Yoon, Ji-hoon's oncologist. At 3 a.m. "Miss Min, I'm sorry to call so late." His voice was strained. Ji-hoon's latest scans show aggressive progression. "We need to operate within 2 weeks, possibly sooner. Without the surgery and the experimental treatment protocol, I can't." He paused. "I'm sorry." "He has days, maybe a week." The room tilted. "How much?" Suah whispered. 68 million won. Up front. The hospital won't proceed without guaranteed payment. She didn't have 68 won, let alone 68 million. After Dr. Yoon hung up, Suah sat in the dark, staring at nothing. Through the window, Seoul sprawled beneath her like a circuit board, lights blazing in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Ji-hoon was sleeping in his hospital bed, his body betraying him cell by cell. Her baby brother. The kid who'd helped her practice dance routines in their tiny apartment, who'd applauded even when she messed up, who'd told her she'd be famous someday. He was 19. He deserved to live. She picked up her phone and texted the number Minho had given her. "I accept." The reply came instantly, "Be ready at 9 a.m. The contract was 37 pages long. Suah sat across from Jaewon in his office, the document spread before her like a trap. A lawyer stood beside Jaewon, a severe woman in her 50s who'd introduced herself as Ms. Park and then said nothing else. "Page 12 covers your duties," Jaewon said, his tone businesslike. He looked different in daylight, still dangerous, but polished. Civilized. "You'll accompany me to specified events. You'll maintain the appearance of a romantic relationship in public. You'll reside in the penthouse." Page 18, Ms. Park added crisply, "covers the NDA. Nothing you see, hear, or experience can be shared with anyone. Violation results in immediate termination and legal action." Suah's head spun. "And the payment?" Page 23. Jaewon slid another document across. Transfer authorization for Seoul National University Hospital. 68 million won, deposited within the hour of your signature. An additional 10 million won monthly stipend for your personal expenses. Her throat closed. That was more money than she'd see in a lifetime. The duration, she managed. 1 year, renewable by mutual consent. Jaewon's dark eyes held hers. After 12 months, you're free to leave. Your brother's treatment continues regardless. I don't break my word. Why me? The question burst out before she could stop it. You could have anyone. Models, actresses, women who actually belong in your world. Why a maid who dances when she thinks no one's watching? Something flickered across Jaewon's face, too quick to read. Because you're real. Everyone else is playing a role. You're the only genuine thing I've seen in years. He stood, buttoning his jacket. Sign or don't. But decide now. Your brother doesn't have time for doubts. Suah picked up the pen. Her hand shook as she signed page after page, her name appearing in stark black ink. With each signature, she felt herself disappearing, Min Suah the dancer, the sister, the dreamer, and becoming something else. Property. Asset. His. When she finished, Ms. Park gathered the documents with practiced efficiency. Welcome to Kim Holdings, Miss Min. Jaewon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then at Suah. Minho will help you move your things. You start tonight. Tonight? We have a charity gala. 8 p.m. Don't be late. Shoulders back. Chin up. You're not apologizing for existing. The woman circling Suah like a drill sergeant was Minho's wife, Grace Kang, a former actress who'd retired when she married into Jaewon's organization. She was stunning, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that missed nothing. I don't know if I can do this, Suah said, wobbling in the Louboutin heels Grace had forced on her feet. You can. You will. Grace adjusted the sample gown Suah wore, midnight blue silk that cost more than her entire wardrobe. These people are predators. They smell fear. You show weakness, they'll eat you alive. They were in a private boutique in Cheongdam-dong, surrounded by gowns that cost more than cars. Grace had spent 4 hours transforming Suah, hair, makeup, posture, speech. Everything. When someone asks what you do, you say you're in arts administration, Grace continued. Vague but respectable. When they ask how you met Jaewon, you smile and say it was fate. Never elaborate. Mystery is power. What if they ask about my family? You're an only child. Parents deceased. No complications. Grace's expression softened slightly. I know it's a lie. But in this world, the truth gets people killed. Jaewon's enemies would use your brother against him, against you. The less anyone knows, the safer you both are. Suah looked at herself in the three-way mirror. She barely recognized the elegant woman staring back. Her hair fell in soft waves, her makeup was subtle but flawless, and the gown made her look like she belonged in a palace. You're a natural, Grace said quietly. Most girls we train take weeks to get the walk right. You learned it in an hour. I'm a dancer. I know how to move. You're more than that. Grace met her eyes in the mirror. You're smart, adaptable, and you've got steel in your spine. Use it. These people will test you, especially the women. Show them you're not some naive girl Jaewon plucked off the street. But I am. No. Grace's voice turned fierce. You're a woman who made an impossible choice to save her brother's life. You're a survivor. Act like it. The gala was held at the Shilla Hotel's Grand Ballroom, a space so opulent it made Suah's teeth ache. Crystal chandeliers dripped light onto marble floors. Women dripped diamonds. Men wore power like cologne. And she was walking into it on Jae-won Kim's arm. "Breathe," he murmured as they approached the entrance. "You look perfect." He wasn't lying. Grace had chosen a red gown for tonight, scarlet silk that hugged her body before flowing to the floor. Sua's hair was swept up, exposing her neck and shoulders. Diamond earrings Jae-won had provided sparkled at her ears. She looked like she belonged to him. "Smile," Jae-won said softly. "We're madly in love, remember?" She pasted on a smile as they entered. Heads turned immediately. Conversations paused. The Ice King of Gangnam had brought a date, a nobody, from the looks of confusion rippling through the crowd. Jae-won. A silver-haired man approached, his smile predatory. "What a surprise. I didn't know you were seeing anyone." "Director Choi." Jae-won's voice was smooth. "May I introduce Min Sua?" "Darling, Director Choi runs the Seoul Museum of Art." Sua extended her hand with the grace Grace had drilled into her. "A pleasure." Choi's eyes crawled over her like insects. "Charming. Where did you two meet?" "Fate brought us together," Sua said, her smile never wavering. "I'm afraid romance doesn't follow a schedule." Jae-won's hand tightened slightly on her waist, approval, she thought. They moved through the crowd like sharks through water. Jae-won introduced her to developers, politicians, businessmen whose faces she recognized from news reports. She smiled, made small talk, played her role perfectly. But she felt the weight of scrutiny. Every woman assessed her like competition. Every man calculated her worth. And through it all, Jae-won remained at her side, a wall of controlled danger that no one dared breach. Then she felt it. The crawl of hostile attention. Across the ballroom, a man watched them with eyes like winter. He was tall, blonde, handsome in a cruel way. His suit was perfectly tailored, but something about him screamed violence. "Who is that?" Sua whispered. Jae-won followed her gaze. His expression didn't change, but she felt his entire body tense. "Viktor Kozlov. Russian Mafia. Stay away from him. He's staring at me." "I know." Jae-won turned her toward the dance floor. "Dance with me." The orchestra was playing something slow and sultry. Jae-won pulled Sua into his arms with practiced ease, one hand at her waist, the other clasping hers. They moved together across the floor, and suddenly the room didn't matter. He was an excellent dancer, confident, leading her effortlessly through turns and sways. Sua let herself fall into the rhythm, her body remembering years of training. "You're full of surprises," Jae-won said softly. "So are you. Where did the Ice King learn to waltz?" His lips quirked, almost a smile. "My mother insisted on lessons. She said a gentleman should know how to dance." "Your mother sounds lovely." She was. Something flickered in his eyes, pain, quickly buried. "She died when I was 16. Sua's chest tightened. Before she could think better of it, she squeezed his hand. "I'm sorry." Jae-won looked down at her, and for a heartbeat, the mask cracked. She saw the man beneath the monster, lonely, guarded, starving for something real. "You're good at this," he said quietly. "Pretending." "I'm not pretending right now." The words hung between them like a confession. Jae-won's hand tightened on her waist, pulling her infinitesimally closer. The air thickened. Sua's pulse hammered in her throat. Then his expression shuddered. "Don't forget what this is. A contract. Nothing more." But his hand stayed tight on her waist, possessive and warm, and Sua wondered which of them he was trying to convince. The bullets came at midnight. They were in Jae-won's Mercedes, Minho driving, heading back to the penthouse. Sua was exhausted, her feet aching from the heels, her face tired from smiling. You did well tonight, Jae-won said. He'd loosened his tie, looking more human than she'd seen him. Victor was watching, but you didn't flinch. Should I be worried about him? I'll handle Victor. The first shot shattered the rear window. Suah screamed. Jae-won slammed her down to the seat, his body covering hers completely. More shots, rapid fire, methodical. The Mercedes swerved violently. Get us out of here. Jae-won barked. Minho didn't answer, just gunned the engine. The car fishtailed through Seoul's empty streets, bullets pinging off bulletproof panels. Suah couldn't breathe beneath Jae-won's weight, couldn't think through the terror. He was shielding her. Using his own body as armor. Stay down, he growled against her ear. Don't move. An explosion rocked the car, someone had thrown something. The Mercedes skidded, hit a curb, kept going. Suah felt Jae-won's heart pounding against her back, steady despite the chaos. Finally, the shooting stopped. Minho took 3 more turns, then pulled into an underground garage. When the engine cut, the silence was deafening. Everyone alive? Minho asked. Yes. Jae-won slowly lifted himself off Suah. You hurt? She couldn't speak, just shook her head. His hands were on her face, tilting it toward the dome light, checking for injuries with surprising gentleness. You're sure? No cuts from the glass? I'm fine. Her voice came out shaky. You covered me. Of course I did. He said it like it was obvious. You're mine to protect now. Something warm and terrifying bloomed in Suah's chest. The safe house was a mountain estate 2 hours from Seoul, modern, isolated, surrounded by forest. Suah stood in the enormous living room, still wearing her ruined gown, while Jae-won paced and made phone calls in rapid Korean. Victor's making a move. He was speaking to someone on speakerphone. He thinks targeting her will draw me out. Will it? The voice was female, cold. Yes. Jae-won's eyes found Suah across the room. Which is exactly what we can't let him know. Double security on the hospital. If anyone gets near the brother. Understood, boss. He ended the call, scrubbed a hand over his face. For the first time since she'd met him, Jae-won looked tired. I need to make more calls, he said. Minho will show you to a room. We'll stay here until this is resolved. How long? Days. Maybe a week. He moved toward a hallway. Don't leave the house. Don't contact anyone. You're safe here, but only if you follow my rules. He disappeared down the corridor, already dialing another number. Suah sank onto a leather sofa, her entire body shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. This was her life now. Bullets and safe houses and a man who'd use his body to shield hers without hesitation. A devil's contract, Grace had warned her. Once you're in, there's no getting out clean. Minho appeared with a glass of water. Drink this. You're in shock. She obeyed, the cool liquid steadying her slightly. Is this normal? The attacks? For this life? Yes. Minho sat across from her, his expression grave. You need to understand something, Suah. You're not just Jae-won's companion anymore. You're a target. His enemies will use you to get to him. Victor proved that tonight. I didn't ask for this. You signed the contract. Suah wanted to throw the glass at him, but she was too exhausted. Instead, she stood. Which room? Minho led her upstairs to a beautiful bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the dark forest. After he left, she peeled off the ruined gown, showered, and fell into bed wearing the provided pajamas. But sleep wouldn't come. Around 2 a.m., she heard voices downstairs, Minho on the phone in the kitchen. Curiosity pulled her from bed. She crept down the stairs, staying in the shadows. "Doesn't know yet," Minho was saying. His voice was tense. "Keep the brother's location secure. If she finds out we've been watching her family for months, before the contract." Sua's blood turned to ice. "I know it's risky," Minho continued. "But the boss wanted her specifically. He's been planning this since he first saw her at the hospital, no longer. He's had people researching her for 6 months. The dancing, the jobs, everything. This wasn't coincidence." The floor tilted beneath Sua's feet. "Just keep the surveillance tight," Minho said. "She can't know we've been in her brother's room, that we've been tracking her movements, that the boss orchestrated everything from the moment he decided he wanted her. If she finds out..." Sua didn't hear the rest. She was moving, stumbling back up the stairs, her mind reeling. 6 months. Jae-won had been watching her for 6 months. The job interview, the contract, even seeing her dance that night, none of it was accident. He'd planned it all. Hunted her. Trapped her. But why? She made it to her room and locked the door with shaking hands. In her bed, she curled into a ball, trying to process the truth. Jae-won Kim hadn't offered her a deal to save Ji-hoon. He'd manufactured the entire situation to make her desperate enough to accept. And now she was trapped in a monster's house, bound by a contract she'd signed in blood and desperation, owned by a man who'd orchestrated her entire life for months without her knowing. The worst part? She had no idea why. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Sua didn't go back to sleep. She sat on the bed until dawn broke over the mountains, painting the forest gold and red. Her mind kept circling back to Minho's words. 6 months. The boss wanted her specifically. He's been planning this. When morning light finally filled the room, she showered, dressed in the clothes someone had left for her, jeans and a sweater that fit perfectly because of course they did, and went downstairs. Jae-won was in the kitchen, making coffee. He'd changed into dark jeans and a black henley, his hair slightly damp. He looked almost normal. Almost human. "Sleep well?" he asked without turning. "No." He glanced at her, something flickering in his expression. The first night after an attack is always difficult. It gets easier. Does it? Sua moved closer, her anger burning steady and cold. "Tell me something, Jae-won. When did you first see me? The real first time." His hand stilled on the coffee pot. "What? Don't lie to me." "Not anymore." Her voice shook. "I heard Minho last night. On the phone." 6 months, he said. "You've been watching me for 6 months. The job, the contract, all of it, you planned everything." Jae-won set down the coffee pot carefully. His face went blank, that terrifying Ice King mask sliding into place. "You were eavesdropping. You were stalking me." Sua stepped closer, fury overriding fear. "You manipulated my entire life. Made me desperate. Made me sign that contract. And I want to know why. Right now. Or I walk out that door and take my chances with Victor. You'd be dead in an hour. Then I'd die knowing the truth." The words echoed in the kitchen. Jae-won stared at her, something dangerous moving behind his eyes. Then his shoulders dropped slightly, and he looked older. Tired. "Sit down," he said quietly. "I don't want to." "Sit down, Sua. Please." The plea surprised her enough that she obeyed, sinking into a chair at the kitchen island. Jae-won poured 2 cups of coffee, set one in front of her, then leaned against the counter. He didn't drink. Just held his cup like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. 8 years ago, he began, you witnessed a murder. The world tilted. What? You were 17. Coming home from dance practice late one night. You cut through an alley near Itaewon. Jaewon's voice was flat, reciting facts. You saw 3 men. One of them was Viktor Kozlov. He executed a rival. Shot him twice in the head. You ran. They chased you. Flashes, dark alley, the crack of gunshots, running until her lungs burned. Sua's hand started shaking. I don't remember. You blocked it out. Trauma response. By the time you made it home, you'd convinced yourself you'd imagined it. Jaewon set down his cup. But Victor's men found security footage. Grainy, but clear enough. They've been looking for you ever since. That's impossible. If they knew who I was. They didn't. Not then. The footage showed your face for maybe 3 seconds, and you were in your dance academy uniform. No name, no ID. Jaewon's jaw tightened. I found out about it 2 years later when I intercepted communications about a witness. Victor was obsessed with finding you. He knew someone had seen him kill Lee Jun-suk, and he couldn't let it stand. Sua's mind was racing, trying to grasp what he was saying. How did you find me? I'm very good at finding people. Something dark crossed his face. When I saw your picture in the intercepted file, I recognized you. We'd met once before, years earlier. You probably don't remember, it was at a hospital fundraiser. You performed a dance. You were 15, maybe. I never forgot your face. The memory surfaced, a charity event, her dance academy performing for donors. A young man in the audience who'd watched her like she was something precious. You, she whispered. Me. Jaewon's expression was unreadable. When I realized Victor was hunting you, I put protection on you and your family. Quietly. My people have been watching you for 6 years, neutralizing threats before they reached you. 6 years. The number didn't make sense. You've been protecting me for 6 years and never told me? Telling you would have put you in more danger. As long as Victor didn't know where you were safe. As long as you didn't remember what you saw, he had no reason to escalate. Jaewon finally met her eyes. But 6 months ago, things changed. Victor got new information, I still don't know how. He started actively searching Seoul. I knew it was only a matter of time before he found you. So you brought me closer. Sua's voice was hollow. Made me sign a contract. Made me yours. Yes. The simple admission was somehow worse than a lie. I needed you where I could protect you properly, Jaewon continued. In my home, under my guard, with a legal reason for my security to be around you constantly. And I needed, he stopped, jaw working. What? I needed your testimony. Eventually. When the time is right, when I have enough power to take Victor down permanently, I need you to testify to what you saw. With your statement and the evidence I've been gathering, I can destroy him. Sua laughed, the sound brittle. So I'm what? Your weapon? Your pet witness? You're a woman I've spent 6 years keeping alive. Jaewon's voice hardened. Do you know how many times Victor's people got close? 14. 14 times they found leads that could have pointed to you. Each time, my people intervened. Your brother's first hospital stay? Victor had someone working as a nurse, collecting patient data. I had her removed. Your second job at the restaurant? One of the cooks was on the Russian payroll. I bought the restaurant and fired him. He moved to a drawer, pulled out a thick folder, and dropped it on the counter between them. Your brother's medical bills for the past 3 years. I paid them. All of them. The apartment you live in? I own the building. Your landlord never raised your rent because I forbade it. The Dance Academy scholarship you received at 16? My foundation funded it. Jaewon's eyes burned into hers. I have been protecting you and your family for 6 years, Suah. Keeping you alive. Keeping Ji-hoon alive. All while waiting for the moment when I could move you somewhere truly safe. Suah opened the folder with trembling hands. Bank statements. Security logs. Incident reports. Photos of men she'd never noticed, men with guns, men who'd been following her, men who'd disappeared before they could get close. Her vision blurred with tears. Why didn't you tell me, she whispered. Because you would have run. Or done something stupid and brave that got you killed. Jaewon's voice gentled slightly. And because I knew you'd look at me the way you're looking at me right now. Like I'm a monster. You are a monster. But the words had no heat. Suah wiped her eyes roughly. You manipulated my entire life. You made me think I had choices when I never did. You always had a choice. You could have said no to the contract. And watch my brother die. That's not a choice. No, Jaewon agreed quietly. It's not. But it's the only kind I know how to give. The blizzard started that afternoon. Snow fell thick and fast, erasing the world beyond the windows. Minho called to say the roads were impassable, they'd be stuck at the safe house for at least 2 days. Suah spent hours alone in her room, processing everything. The folder's contents kept circling through her mind. Evidence of 6 years of protection. 6 years of Jaewon Kim moving pieces on a chessboard, keeping her safe from an enemy she hadn't known existed. She should hate him. She wanted to hate him. But when she looked at the security logs, the dates when threats had been neutralized, the careful notations of every intervention, she saw something else. Obsession, yes. Control, absolutely. But also, care. A twisted, possessive kind of care, but care nonetheless. Around midnight, she gave up on sleep and went downstairs. Jaewon was in the living room, staring into the fireplace. A bottle of whiskey sat on the table beside him, mostly empty. He looked up when she entered, his eyes slightly unfocused. Can't sleep, he asked. Can you? I don't sleep much. He gestured to the other chair. Join me. Or tell me to go to hell. Either is acceptable. Suah sat, curling her legs beneath her. The fire was warm, the room dark except for its flickering light. Outside, wind howled through the trees. Tell me about your mother, she said. Jaewon blinked, clearly not expecting that question. Why? Because you said she taught you to dance. Because you looked sad when you mentioned her. Because I don't know anything real about you except that you're a criminal who's been protecting me for reasons I still don't completely understand. He was silent for a long moment. Then, she was beautiful. Kind. Completely unsuited for the life my father forced on her. Your father was in the Mafia? My father was the Mafia. Seoul's underworld belonged to him. Jaewon took a long drink. He was brutal. Effective. Terrifying. And he loved my mother in his way, even though that love destroyed her slowly. What happened? Rival family. The Choi Syndicate. They couldn't beat him in business, so they went after his family. Jaewon's voice went flat. Home invasion. I was 16. My father was out. They killed my mother in front of me. Made me watch while they... He stopped. His hand tightened on his glass so hard Suah thought it might shatter. I'm sorry, she whispered. My father's brother found me. Uncle Shin. He took me in, trained me, made me into a weapon. By the time I was 20, I'd killed every man who'd touched my mother. And my father. He looked at her, his eyes hollow. I killed him too. Because he was weak. Because he'd left us unprotected. Because he chose a meeting over keeping his family safe. Sua's chest ached. J1. I became what he was, but better. Colder. Stronger. I rebuilt our organization into something no one would dare challenge. And I swore I'd never be weak again. Never let anyone he stopped, jaw clenching. Never let anyone matter enough to make me vulnerable. But then you saw me, Sua said softly. Then I saw you. His laugh was bitter. 17 years old, dancing at a charity event like you were made of light. And years later, when I found out Victor was hunting you, I couldn't, he shook his head. I told myself it was strategic. That I needed your testimony. But the truth is, I've been obsessed with you since that night. With keeping you safe. With owning your smile, your freedom, your life. It's sick. I know it is. It is, Sua agreed. But you kept me alive. I also stole your choices. Yes. She stood, moved to his chair, and before she could second-guess herself, she took his face in her hands. His skin was warm, his stubble rough against her palms. You're a monster, Jae-won Kim. A manipulative, controlling, obsessive monster. I know. But you're also the reason my brother is alive. The reason I wasn't murdered in an alley by Russian gangsters. The reason I'm sitting here now instead of dead in a ditch. She leaned closer, her heart pounding. I should hate you. You should. I don't. She kissed him. For a heartbeat, Jae-won froze. Then he surged up, pulling her into his lap, his mouth claiming hers with desperate hunger. He tasted like whiskey and smoke and desperation. His hands tangled in her hair, tilted her head to deepen the kiss, and Sua melted into him. This was insane. Stupid. Dangerous. She didn't care. She'd spent 6 years being protected by a monster who'd turned her into his obsession. She'd signed a contract that made her his property. She'd learned her entire life had been a lie. But right now, with Jae-won's hands on her body and his mouth on hers, she felt more alive than she had in years. Are you sure? He breathed against her lips. Because if we do this, everything changes. It already changed. Sua pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. The moment I signed that contract. The moment you decided I was yours. Maybe even 8 years ago in that alley. We've been moving toward this the whole time. Jae-won's control shattered. He stood, carrying her with him, and she wrapped her legs around his waist. They made it halfway to the stairs before he pressed her against the wall, kissing her like he was drowning and she was air. His hands mapped her body with reverent possession, waist, hips, the curve of her spine. Tell me to stop, he said against her throat. Sua, tell me to stop. No. They barely made it to his room. Morning came too soon. Sua woke wrapped in expensive sheets, her body deliciously sore, alone. She found Jae-won in the kitchen again, fully dressed, his expression carefully blank. Coffee, he offered. The Ice King was back. Don't do this, Sua said quietly. Don't pretend last night didn't happen. Last night was a mistake. The words hit like a slap. Excuse me? You're vulnerable. I took advantage. It won't happen again. His voice was cold, professional. We need to maintain proper boundaries. This is still a business arrangement. You're terrified. She moved closer, holding his gaze. You're falling for me. Really falling. And it's making you vulnerable, which is the one thing the great Ice King can't allow. Jae-won's jaw worked. Sua. His phone rang. He looked ready to ignore it, but then he saw the screen and his face went white. "It's Victor." He answered on speaker. "Kozlov." J1. Victor's voice was smooth, accented. "We need to talk about your little dancer." Sua's blood ran cold. "She has nothing to do with our business," J1 said carefully. "Oh, but she does. 8 years ago, she saw something she shouldn't have. I've been very patient, waiting for her to resurface. And now here she is, warming your bed. How convenient." Victor's laugh was cruel. "I have a proposition. Her brother for her. Simple trade. You don't have her brother." "Don't I?" Seoul National University Hospital, room 847. "Sweet boy. Very brave, even when my men walked in." J1's hand tightened on the phone. He was already texting with his other hand, likely ordering his people to the hospital. "If you hurt him." "I won't. Yet. But I need the girl, J1. The witness. You understand. Business is business. Go to hell. 12 hours. I'll send a location. Come alone with the girl, or I start sending pieces of her brother back to you." Victor ended the call. Sua couldn't breathe. "Ji-hoon. He has Ji-hoon." J1 was already moving, grabbing his coat. "Min-ho. Get the cars ready. We're moving now." "I'm coming with you," Sua said. "Absolutely not. He's my brother." J1 gripped her shoulders, his eyes fierce. "Which is exactly why you're staying here where it's safe. I will get him back. I swear to you, I will bring your brother home alive." Sua's phone rang. They both froze. The number was unknown. "Answer it," J1 said quietly. "Speaker." Her hand shook as she pressed accept. "Hello? Nuna?" Ji-hoon's voice was young, terrified. "Ji-hoon. Are you hurt? Did they?" "I'm okay. Nuna, listen. The man with the scar, he's been talking to me. He says," Ji-hoon's voice cracked. "He says he's our uncle. He says Mom had a secret before she died. He says you're not who you think you are." Ice slid down Sua's spine. "What are you talking about?" "He showed me pictures. Old ones, from Russia. Mom when she was young." Ji-hoon was crying now. "Nuna, he says your father wasn't Dad. He says Mom ran away from her family in Moscow. He says her real name was Katerina Kozlova." The world stopped. "He says you're his niece," Ji-hoon whispered. "He says Mom left to protect you. And he says I'm the heir he's been searching for. Whatever that means." The phone was taken away. Victor's voice returned, smooth as poison. "Surprise, princess. You're Russian Mafia royalty. Your mother was my beloved older sister. And your little brother? He's my nephew. The last male heir to the Kozlov bloodline." Sua looked at J1. His face had gone pale, his expression stunned. "You see the problem now?" Victor continued. "You're not just a witness, Sua. You're family. And family belongs with family. 12 hours. Don't keep us waiting." The line went dead. The silence was crushing. Finally, J1 spoke, his voice barely a whisper. "Your mother was Kozlov's sister. You're Russian Mafia royalty. And your brother. He's the heir Victor's been searching for." Sua's legs gave out. She would have fallen if J1 hadn't caught her. Everything she knew was a lie. Her mother, her family, her identity. And her brother, sweet, innocent Ji-hoon, was the key to a criminal empire that spanned continents. "What do we do?" she whispered. Jaewon's arms tightened around her, and when he spoke, his voice was steel and promise. We get him back. And then we burn Victor's world to ashes. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Soo-ah sat on the floor of the safe house living room, surrounded by photographs. Her mother's face stared up at her from a dozen different angles, young, beautiful, blonde hair that she'd later dyed black. Katerina Kozlova. In some photos, she wore furs and diamonds. In others, she stood beside men with dead eyes and expensive suits. And in one, she held a baby girl with dark eyes. Soo-ah. She was 23 when this was taken, Jaewon said quietly. He sat beside her, his shoulder touching hers. Already one of the most powerful women in the Kozlov family. Victor's older sister, his most trusted advisor. What happened? Soo-ah's voice was hollow. Why did she run? From what my contacts in Moscow could find, she fell in love with a Korean businessman who was in Russia for a trade deal. Your father, your biological father. Lee Tae-min. Jaewon pulled out another photo. A kind-faced man with Soo-ah's eyes. He died in a car accident 3 months after you were born. The Russian authorities ruled it an accident. It wasn't. Soo-ah's chest tightened. Victor. Victor found out about the relationship. He had your father killed. Jaewon's jaw clenched. Katerina was devastated. And furious. So she did the one thing that would hurt her brother most, she stole $50 million from the family accounts, faked her death, and disappeared. $50 million. The number was incomprehensible. She made it to South Korea with you. Changed her name to Min Hye-jin. Eventually married the man you knew as your father, a good man who adopted you, gave her a new life, gave her Ji-hoon. Jaewon's voice gentled. She kept you safe for 25 years, Soo-ah. Victor searched everywhere. He never stopped looking for his sister and his niece. The heir, Soo-ah whispered. Ji-hoon. Victor said he's the heir. The Kozlov bloodline passes through the male line. Victor has no sons, no brothers. Ji-hoon is his nephew, the only male heir to the entire empire. Jaewon turned to face her fully. That's why Victor's so desperate. Without an heir, the family fractures when he dies. Other families will move in, take over, destroy everything he's built. But with Ji-hoon, he can secure his legacy. Soo-ah felt sick. My baby brother is a key to a criminal empire. Yes. She looked at Jaewon, really looked at him. His face was drawn, exhausted, but his eyes were clear. Honest. When did you find out? She asked. About my mother. About who I really am. He didn't flinch from the question. 6 months ago. One of Victor's communications mentioned Katerina Kozlova's daughter. They'd finally tracked you to Seoul. I connected the dots. And you decided to use me. Yes. The admission was simple, unflinching. My original plan was to bring you close, verify your identity, and use you as leverage against Victor. Force him to negotiate, maybe even trade you for territory or peace. But I fell in love with you. Jaewon's voice cracked slightly. Somewhere between watching you dance and listening to you laugh with the staff and seeing you fight for your brother's life, I fell. And suddenly the plan didn't matter anymore. Nothing mattered except keeping you safe. Soo-ah wanted to stay angry. Wanted to hold on to her fury at his manipulation. But his eyes were too raw, too honest. You're an idiot, she said softly. I know. You should have told me. I know. I could have helped. We could have planned this together instead of. Her voice broke. Instead of Ji-hoon being taken. Jae-won pulled her into his arms, and she let herself break. She cried for her mother's lies, for her stolen identity, for her brother's innocence destroyed. And Jae-won held her through it all, his hand stroking her hair, his voice murmuring promises in Korean. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were swollen but clear. "What do we do now?" she asked. "Victor wants to meet. He sent the location an hour ago. One of his properties in Gangnam. He wants you and Ji-hoon to return to Russia with him, claim your inheritance, unite the families." Jae-won's expression hardened. "If you refuse, he's promised to start a war. He'll burn Seoul's underworld to the ground. Everyone I've ever worked with, everyone who's loyal to me, he'll kill them all. And he'll save me for last, so I can watch. So we have no choice. We always have a choice." Jae-won stood, pulling her up with him. "And I choose war over letting him take you." The plan came together in Minho's capable hands. They gathered in the safe house's converted basement, Jae-won's inner circle. 20 men, all armed, all loyal. Minho stood at the front with a digital map projected on the wall. "Victor's penthouse is here," he said, pointing. 32nd floor, heavy security, multiple escape routes. He'll expect Suwa to come alone or with minimal protection. So we give him what he expects, Jae-won said. Suwa goes in, wearing a wire. She keeps Victor talking while we extract Ji-hoon. He'll have the boy close, Minho continued. Probably in the penthouse itself. We've got building schematics from our contact in maintenance. There are service corridors here and here. He traced lines on the map. We can get a team in through the ventilation system. Suwa studied the map, her mind racing. What if Victor searches me? Finds the wire? He will, Jae-won said bluntly. He's paranoid and thorough. So you'll be wearing 2 wires, one obvious, one hidden. Where? Gray stepped forward, holding a small device no bigger than a pill. Subcutaneous transmitter. We insert it under your skin, here. She indicated a spot near Sua's collarbone. Minor surgery, local anesthetic. Victor's men will find the obvious wire, feel like they've won, never look for this. Suwa swallowed hard. Do it. 20 minutes later, she had a fresh bandage hidden beneath her shirt and a tiny transmitter broadcasting her heartbeat to Jae-won's receiver. I'll hear everything, he promised, showing her the earpiece. The second something goes wrong, we're coming in. You don't play hero. You don't try to save anyone. You stay alive. Understood? Understood. She caught his hand. But Jae-won, what if this is a trap? What if Victor's real target is you? It probably is. His smile was cold. Which is why I'm bringing everyone. If Victor wants a war, we'll give him one he'll never forget. Victor's penthouse was everything Suwa expected, opulent, cold, and reeking of blood money. 2 of his men had searched her in the lobby, finding the obvious wire taped between her shoulder blades. They'd crushed it with satisfied smirks before escorting her up. Now she stood in a living room that could have graced a magazine, if magazines featured spaces decorated by sociopaths. Victor rose from a leather chair, his smile warm and utterly terrifying. Suwa. Or should I say, Katerina Sergeyevna Kozlova? He moved closer, studying her like a painting. You have your mother's eyes. I used to tell her they were too soft for our world. She proved me right when she ran. Where's my brother? Safe. Comfortable. Watching television in the next room. Victor gestured to a closed door. I'm not a monster, despite what your gangster boyfriend has told you. Ji-hoon is family. I would never hurt family. You killed my father. Your biological father was a weakness. An infection. Victor's voice didn't change, conversational and pleasant. Katerina needed to be reminded of her place. Unfortunately, she chose defiance instead of loyalty. Sua's hands clenched at her sides. You're insane. I'm practical. He poured 2 glasses of vodka, offered her one. She didn't take it. Your mother stole $50 million from me. More than that, she stole my heir, my sister, my family's honor. For 25 years, I've searched. And now I've found what was taken. I'm not going to Russia with you. No? Victor's smile widened. Even to save your brother? Even to save J1 and everyone he loves? I have men positioned at 15 locations right now. His clubs, his businesses, his safe houses. Even the hospital where his mother is buried, I have someone there, ready to desecrate her grave. One word from me, and soul burns. You're bluffing. Am I? Victor pulled out his phone, showed her a live video feed. The Kim Holdings building, J1's legitimate front. She could see people moving inside, employees, civilians. 50 pounds of C4 in the basement. I can kill 200 people with a text message. Would you like me to prove I'm serious? Fear clawed at Sua's throat. What do you want? Simple. You and Ji-hoon return to Moscow. You don't have to be active in the family business, I'm not unreasonable. But you'll be there, visible, legitimate heirs to the Kozlov Empire. In exchange, I leave J1 alive. He keeps his territory, his businesses, his life. And the 50 million my mother stole? Ah. Victor's eyes gleamed. Yes. That too. I assume she told you where she hid it before she died? She never told me anything. I didn't even know she was Russian until yesterday. Pity. Victor set down his glass with a sharp click. Then we'll have to do this the hard way. He pulled out a gun. Sua's world narrowed to the barrel pointing at her chest. Through the hidden transmitter, she knew J1 could hear everything. She had to keep Victor talking. Buy time. The money, she said quickly. Even if I knew where it was, why do you need it? You're worth billions. Because it's mine. Victor's mask slipped, showing the monster beneath. Your mother humiliated me. Made me look weak. Every day that money stays hidden, every day you remain with that Korean gangster, my enemies whisper. They say the great Viktor Kozlov couldn't even control his own sister. This is about pride. This is about power. He moved closer, the gun never wavering. In our world, perception is everything. I need my niece and nephew back. I need that money returned. And I need J1 dead, publicly, so everyone knows what happens when someone touches what belongs to me. Sua's blood turned to ice. You said you'd leave him alive. I lied. Victor's smile was poison. Did you really think I'd let him keep breathing after he touched you? After he made you his? You belong to the Kozlov family, Sua. And J1 needs to die screaming so the whole world understands that. The door burst open. J1 stood there, gun raised, 20 men behind him. His face was pure fury. Get away from her. Victor laughed. Right on time. I knew you couldn't resist a dramatic entrance. He pressed the gun against Sua's temple. Lower your weapons or I paint her beautiful face across this expensive carpet. J1's eyes met Sua's. She saw everything in that gaze, love, fury, desperation, and something that looked like goodbye. Don't, she whispered. He lowered his gun. That's better. Victor pulled Sua against his chest, using her as a shield. Now, here's what's going to happen. Your men will leave. You'll stay. We'll have a civilized conversation about power and territory, Anne. The gunshot came from behind Victor. Minho stood in the doorway to the bedroom, gun raised, smoke curling from the barrel. But he wasn't aiming at Victor. He was aiming at Jae-won. Sorry, boss, Minho said calmly. But Victor pays better. Time stopped. Jae-won stared at his right-hand man, his most trusted soldier, the man he'd considered a brother. Minho? I've been with the Russians for 3 years. Feeding Victor information, helping him track the Kozlov girl, positioning pieces for this moment. Minho's expression was almost apologetic. You're a good man, Jae-won. Better than me. But in this world, good men finish dead. He fired. Jae-won dove, the bullet grazing his shoulder. His men scattered as Victor's reinforcements poured in from hidden doors. The penthouse erupted into chaos, gunfire, shouting, blood. Victor dragged Sua toward an elevator. Time to go, princess. No. Sua twisted in his grip, her dance training making her flexible and strong. She stomped on his instep, hard, and when his grip loosened, she drove her elbow into his throat. Victor staggered. Sua ran. Bullets chased her across the living room. She ducked behind a marble column as return fire came from Jae-won's position. The world was violence and noise and terror. Then Grace was beside her, pressing a gun into her hands. Your brother's already out. Secondary team extracted him 10 minutes ago. What? You think Jae-won would risk his life on one plan? Grace's smile was fierce. The call from Ji-hoon, we traced it, found their safe house, pulled him out while Victor was busy gloating. He's safe. Now let's finish this. Sua looked at the gun in her hands. She'd never held one before. Never imagined she'd need to. But Victor had threatened her brother. Had taken everything from her. Had turned her whole life into a lie. She stepped out from behind the column. Minho was advancing on Jae-won, who was pinned down behind an overturned couch, bleeding from his shoulder. Minho's gun was raised for the kill shot. Sua fired. The bullet caught Minho in the leg. He went down with a scream, his gun skittering across the floor. Sua advanced, the weapon steady in her hands despite her shaking. That's for betraying him, she said coldly. For betraying all of us. Jae-won was on his feet, moving toward Victor. The Russian mob boss was cornered now, his own men down or fleeing. He raised his gun, but Jae-won was faster. His shot took Victor in the shoulder, spinning him around. Where's my money? Jae-won demanded, pressing the gun to Victor's temple. The 50 million Katerina stole. Where would she hide it? Victor laughed through his pain. You'll never find it. She was too smart. It could be anywhere. It's in the charity, Sua said. Everyone turned to look at her. What? Victor's eyes widened. The Seoul Children's Cancer Foundation. The charity organization you run as a front for money laundering. Sua moved closer, pieces clicking into place. My mother knew you'd take over her charity work when she died. She knew you'd use it as a legitimate business to hide dirty money. So she invested the 50 million there, in plain sight. It's been growing for 25 years. By now it's probably worth 200 million, maybe more. All of it locked in trusts that can only be accessed by her direct heirs. She smiled at Victor's expression of dawning horror. Me and Ji-hoon. We're the only ones who can touch that money. And we're going to use every penny of it to fund the treatments for children like my brother. Children your drugs and violence and wars have hurt. Sua's voice turned to steel. You'll never see it. And every sick child it helps will be a reminder that Katerina Kozlova beat you. Her daughter beat you. And the great Viktor Kozlov died knowing he lost to a woman and a dancer. Victor lunged at her. Jaewon's shot was perfect. Viktor Kozlov fell, clutching his chest, his eyes wide with disbelief. He tried to speak, but only blood came out. Then he was still. The silence was deafening. 3 months later. Suah stood in the penthouse, music playing softly from hidden speakers. The floor-to-ceiling windows showed Seoul stretching to the horizon, lights beginning to twinkle as dusk settled over the city. She was dancing. Not for an audience. Not for work. Just because she could. Because she was alive. Because Ji-hoon was healthy, his cancer in remission, his face bright with hope again. Because the world had tried to break her and failed. "You're beautiful when you dance," Jaewon's voice came from behind her. She didn't stop moving, just smiled. "I know you're watching. I always know now." He moved into her space, his hands finding her waist. 3 months of recovery, of dismantling Victor's network, of transforming his organization into something that could exist in daylight. 3 months of falling deeper in love with a man who was still dangerous but trying to be better. For her. For them. "The prosecutor accepted our deal," Jaewon said, swaying with her. "Immunity for testimony against Victor's remaining network. Kim Holdings is officially legitimate now. No more smuggling, no more protection rackets." "Boring," Suah teased. "We still have the security division. And the investment firm. And I may have acquired a few businesses that technically operate in gray areas." She laughed and kissed him. "Once a gangster, always a gangster. Can I help it if I'm good at finding profitable ventures?" His smile was warm, real. The Ice King had thawed, and what remained was just a man. Scarred, complicated, occasionally terrifying, but hers. "Ji-hoon starts university next semester," Suah said, resting her head against his chest. "He wants to study medicine. Help other kids like him. Your mother would be proud." Jaewon's arms tightened around her. "You both survived. You both chose life over vengeance, hope over hate. That takes more courage than anything I've ever done. You chose me over your empire. You dropped your gun when Minho betrayed you. And I'd do it again." He tilted her chin up, his eyes fierce. "Every time. For the rest of my life." The music swelled. Suah pulled back slightly, extending her hand. "Dance with me," she whispered to the monster who'd become a man. Jaewon took her hand, pulled her close, and for the first time in his life, the Ice King of Gangnam smiled. Really smiled, all warmth and joy and love. They danced as the city lights blazed around them. A criminal trying to be good. A dancer who'd learned to fight. 2 people who'd found each other in the darkness and chosen the light. Outside, Seoul pulsed with life and danger and possibility. Inside, in their penthouse high above it all, they were simply 2 people dancing. And for now, for this perfect moment, that was enough. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.